All right, let's get right into it. Welcome, everyone, to a highly structural, cinematic film room explainer of this preseason Week 2 matchup between the Baltimore Ravens and the Minnesota Vikings. Now, we are absolutely not doing any basic box score scouting today. We're going straight into the trenches to find the repeatable, play-level signals that actually matter. So let's dive in. Look, here is our core philosophy for today. This is a preseason rotation analysis, not a falsely precise regular season efficiency preview. You have to remember, raw volume stats are useless right now. Looking for 2026 regular season EPA per play or explosive play stats, that's a complete waste of time. They literally don't exist yet. Instead, we're strictly evaluating process, structural tactics, and the in-game signals we can actually trust. So here's the agenda. First, exposing the preseason illusion. Second, quarterback rotations and decisions. Third, trench warfare and pass protection. Fourth, early downs and run fits. Fifth, live in-game scout coups. And finally, Section 6, the final tactical verdict. We're going from the macro view all the way down to the granular line of scrimmage details. Starting with Section 1, exposing the preseason illusion. Okay, we really have to separate the preseason noise from the actual tactical signal. The noise? That's raw passing yard totals racked up in the fourth quarter against exhausted third-string reserves. That tells us absolutely nothing. The true signal is whether the quarterback faces pressure before his second read and how disciplined those early down run fits are. I mean, a 12-yard run after a clean double-team displacement says infinitely more than some broken play scramble late in the game. And keep this contextual baseline in mind. It's preseason week 2, we're at US Bank Stadium, which is indoors, so boom, weather is completely removed as a variable. But here's the real kicker. These teams have joint practices on August 19th and 20th. In the modern game, joint practices are basically the real preseason games. Because of that heavy workload, established starters are going to be heavily managed, if not rested completely. Moving right along to Section 2, quarterback rotations and decisions. This is where the structural contrast gets super interesting. With the starters resting, look at how these QB rooms are built. Baltimore has Tyler Huntley, a retained reserve who keeps their entire mobile, boot action, and zone read playbook completely alive. Minnesota, on the other hand, is staging a live, high-stakes pocket competition between Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy. The Vikings staff is demanding deep pocket drops and decisive hot answers against pressure. It's basically an established mobility floor for the Ravens versus a highly volatile pocket competition for the Vikings. And just to reinforce why those reserves matter so much right now, Lamar Jackson hasn't played a preseason game since 2021, and he was held out of Week 1. Assuming he sits, Huntley's baseline floor becomes a major conditional advantage. It allows Baltimore to actually dictate the game with designed movement rather than falling back on a static, vanilla game plan. All right, on to Section 3, trench warfare and pass protection. Regardless of who's under center, the real tactical reality of this matchup is decided up front. We have a fantastic trench confrontation brewing. You've got Baltimore's edge rushers, specifically Trey Hendrickson, looking to test Minnesota's developing quarterbacks with simulated pressures and stunts. They want to create chaos. On the flip side, Minnesota's pass protection, backed by the full camp availability of Christian Darrisaw, has one massive priority: maintain pocket depth and sort out those late add-ons. Meanwhile, for the Ravens offense, there's a huge storyline with their new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle. His explicit mandate? Reduce the 36 sacks Lamar Jackson took back in 2025. So for the Baltimore O-line, avoiding immediate pressure is literally the clearest diagnostic of success under Doyle. Seriously, forget the passing yardage today. Just watch how well they keep the quarterback upright. Section 4, early downs and run fits. Pass protection is crucial, but early down efficiency is what dictates the entire playbook. Here is the exact step-by-step blueprint. Step 1. Create 2nd and 6 or better to keep your run-pass menu wide open. Step 2. Avoid penalties or immediate defensive penetration. Step 3. Force the defense to reveal their coverage rotation. When you're watching, focus on this exact process, not just the raw rushing totals. Tactically speaking, Baltimore is going to relentlessly test Minnesota's interior displacement and backside contain. We're talking heavy use of zone, counter, and movement action. For Minnesota, their run fits have to be perfectly disciplined. They absolutely cannot overcommit their safeties, and they must maintain gap integrity against quarterback keepers. Penetration before the handoff is what we're watching for here. Which brings us perfectly to Section 5, live in-game scout cues. I want to turn you into a live scout for this one. Here is your exact viewing timeline. First quarter, just identify who actually plays, track early down efficiency, and watch for unblocked edge defenders. First half, compare the offenses after that massive first wave of substitutions, monitor sack conversions, and where red zone drives originate. Fourth quarter, evaluate the active quarterback's on-schedule decisions and immediate pressure prevention. Ignore the yardage entirely late in the game. Let's quickly simulate the game states. If Minnesota secures an early lead, their tactic is low variance. Stay on schedule with a quick game, tackle on first contact, and do not invite efficient runs. But if Baltimore leads, they're going to protect that lead via field position. They will try to force Minnesota to sustain long, methodical drives, banking on the Vikings quarterback rotation making a mistake. And we absolutely cannot forget about hidden field position. In a low-variance preseason rotation, special teams are incredibly high leverage. Inside US Bank Stadium, the indoor venue demands clean kicking execution. Watch for repeated starts inside the 20-yard line. Those are massive indicators. Honestly, just one muffed punt from a backup unit can completely outweigh a small offensive edge. Finally, Section 6, the final tactical verdict. Bringing all this tactical data together, the internal model's rigorous projection estimates a razor-thin final score, Baltimore 21, Minnesota 20. But you need to understand the conditions for this 21-20 projection. It assumes normal preseason starter management. Baltimore gets that slight edge, relying entirely on their verified reserve quarterback mobility floor, while Minnesota's unresolved QB competition remains a major variable. However, Minnesota does benefit heavily from being at home in that indoor setting. And a quick disclaimer, this is elite sports analysis and a rotation-sensitive model estimate, absolutely not betting or financial advice. A single scratch announcement before kickoff could swing this whole thing. So I'll leave you with this provocative thought to take into the broadcast. Which roster depth will truly control the line of scrimmage? Will it be Baltimore's edge rushers causing havoc, or Minnesota's pass protection locking down the pocket? Keep your eyes locked on the trenches, ignore the raw stats, and watch the game like a pro scout. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.